Thanks for joining us. I'm Captain Mike Roberts. In the next half hour, we'll introduce you to the nearly 12,000 Missouri Citizen Soldiers and Airmen of the Missouri National Guard. We'll show you who we are and what we do as problem solvers for both America and Missouri. And we'll take you behind the scenes and around the world with one of America's best military units. The Army National Guard traces its origins to 1636, to militia forces predating the original 13 colonies, making the Army National Guard the oldest component of America's armed forces. During the Revolutionary War, a group of select citizen soldiers within the militia became known as the Minutemen. These elite fighters were highly mobile teams that allowed the fledgling colonies to defend against looming threats. Since the early days of our republic, the Army National Guard has fought in every major conflict and fulfilled its dual mission at home and abroad. Although considerably younger, the Air National Guard wasn't established as a separate reserve component of the U.S. Air Force until 1947. National Guard aviators have played significant roles in all of America's wars and most of its contingency operations since the First World War era. And most recently, our airmen have made significant contributions in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. Closer to home, our airmen have demonstrated they're a vital part of the Guard by their contributions during countless state emergency duties. The Missouri National Guard traces its roots to August 21, 1808, to a tavern on the St. Louis riverfront. Benjamin Wilkerson organized area residents at Yosti's Tavern for what would prove to be the precursor to the Missouri National Guard. And while that's the officially recognized date, early Missouri militias can be traced back to the mid-1700s, with Spanish and French settlements in both St. Louis and St. Genevieve. Today, the Missouri National Guard continues to serve Missouri and America. The Guard's unique dual mission is spelled out clearly in the United States Constitution. As a state force, the National Guard falls under the control of the governor, unless called to active service by the president. Missouri forces have participated in America's conflicts for hundreds of years, and we've performed exceptionally well due to the full spectrum of talents and abilities our citizen soldiers and airmen bring to our ranks. Those civilian-acquired skills and attributes don't go unnoticed by the Adjutant General, Major General Steve Danner.
We're teachers, bankers, retail business men and women, farmers, I mean, you name any skill that you can think of, and we've got a guardsman who has that skill or is proficient in that profession.
General Danner is a perfect example of the traditional guardsman. In addition to being a husband and father, he's been a developer, a practicing attorney, a judge, a state representative, and a state senator. And like so many Missouri guardsmen, he brings a wealth of civilian knowledge, critical thinking skills, and problem-solving ability to address complex issues facing Missouri citizens. General Danner, who has logged more than 3 decades of service, says, "The Guard's depth of knowledge and experience makes us very adaptable, efficient, and cost-effective."
You can train and equip and put a guardsman in the field for less than 1/3 the cost of an active component soldier. So when it comes to value for America, the Guard has a distinct advantage there.
And Danner says that's critical during these tight economic times when decision makers in Washington are determining how to spend taxpayer dollars on future defense budgets. Coming up, we'll show you some of the awesome capabilities of your Missouri National Guard, both at home and abroad.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life to somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
The Missouri National Guard has a long history of service to the state. Our nearly 12,000 citizen soldiers and airmen are part of the fabric of our state. We serve Missouri from 70 locations, and our servicemen and women represent more than 330 communities. Missouri Guardsmen have participated in U.S. conflicts dating back to the 1800s. And since the terrorist attacks on the United States in 2001, our units have played significant roles in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya, to name a few. Our next story features 2 Missouri Guard Apache helicopter pilots who performed heroically during their 2006 deployment to Iraq. Chief Warrant Officers Jim Nix and Alan Christ's Missouri National Guard unit deployed with the 36th Combat Aviation Brigade from the Texas National Guard. The video you're about to see is a segment from a documentary of the 36th Cab's deployment.
The missions continued right up to the last days of the deployment. It was during this time, the 11th hour, when one of the deployment's most memorable events took place. Ramadi was one of the most dangerous cities in Iraq at the start of the brigade's deployment. Relative peace prevailed, but Al-Qaeda was plotting to return Ramadi to chaos.
We were in the process of doing orientation flights for our relief unit who had just arrived in country. So we basically had two teams of two go to Ramadi and do a night orientation for those folks. And the intent was to go down there, split the teams up, fly around to the various areas, show them how to get in and out of refuel, stop, get some coffee, go and talk to the brigade tactical operations center and meet those folks, and we'll meet and greet there, and then go home and relax and enjoy our evening.
On June 30th, 2007, a patrol of 3 Humvees from the 1st of the 77th Armor Regiment were looking for smugglers near Donkey Island. They would find about 70 Al-Qaeda jihadists with tractor-trailers loaded with explosives and weapons.
Lots of tracer fire, going both directions. So I asked my counterpart, Gunslinger, if he had the grid saved, or the target location saved. He did. I said, go ahead and call it in to Warlord, give him a spot report, let him know what's going on. He did, immediately. Not more than 1 minute after the report went to Warlord of what we saw, we got a call back from Warlord indicating troops in contact, or a tick. Red Pain was very, very excited, that's the word, and wanted us to find the trucks and take them out. We began to search for the trucks. I went in close while my wingman provided cover. Both my wingman and I were searching everywhere around Red Pain to find the trucks. Couldn't see them. We had a lot of difficulty finding them. There's many reasons for that: terrain, temperature, many things. What we did see, though, plainly was the tracer fire.
The radio traffic that night was chaotic. After the 36th Cab had joined the fight, they could hear that reinforcements were approaching from the south, west, and north.
I got in closer to Red Pain so that I could see more clearly, both using my FLIR system and night vision goggles. I could make out the silhouettes of the trucks. Immediately I slowed down. I told them I did have the trucks in sight, and I'm going to begin to engage. Because of the proximity of the friendlies to these 18-millimeters that Jim was required to engage, he basically had to come to almost to a hover, flying about 30 miles out, very slowly, and watching where friendlies were. Shot the 18-millimeters, caught them on fire, and we ended up with the biggest explosion that any of us had ever seen. Fireball going to about 2,000 feet, and it was spectacular. I saw that. I asked Jim on the radio because I wasn't sure if he was still there. I said, "You all right?" He says, "Yeah, I'm all right." I saw that the explosion had engulfed Red Pain 7 and all the elements. At least it looked like it from my perspective, that they had been in the flame in the initial blast. I called him immediately and asked him if he was all right. He called me back. He said, "We're fine. We're just enjoying the fireworks." I turned over the mission to Team 2. I informed Red Pain 7 that I was bingo, on fuel, and that Team 2 would roll in.
They ended up with lots of bullets through the helicopter. So they went back. They had a break station for refuel. They went back and got gas and looked at the helicopter, decided that they needed to go ahead and go back to Balad because the helicopter was pretty thoroughly damaged. I had taken over the fight from them when they went to get refuel, and we were working with the guys on the ground and we were shooting at stuff that they asked us to shoot at, continued helping those guys with the fight as best we could. Had to break for refuel. They had several wounded.
The landing zone was under heavy fire, and the nearest medevac team could not perform a rescue mission. This called for an unexpected plan of action.
So we went out there, and fortunately they had moved their casualties a couple of kilometers away to a casualty collection point, so we really didn't have to land in the middle of the drama, though we were certainly fully prepared to. And we got a grid coordinate, and we landed. They were helping a young man who could walk. They were helping him up to the helicopter. This young man was wounded very badly, shot in the face.
Kevin and I started discussing, well, if they got somebody that needs to get out, we should do it. You know, he asked me, would you get out of the helicopter? I said, yes, that's not a big deal. I hopped out, and they brought him up to the helicopter. I kind of showed him where to step, got him in there, got the seatbelts on him, shut the door, ran around to the left side of the helicopter and pulled out my restraint system, hopped on the wing, and we took off.
We strapped him in. Alan did the belts as tight as he could. Alan climbed on the side of that helicopter in the middle of that firefight, banged on the window, and I flew him back to Ramadi.
Anything we can do to make it easier for them on the ground, because they're kind of hanging it all out there, and we got a lot of machinery around us, so I was okay with that because this person was hurt very badly, and I didn't have to think about it.
Bob to Chris 6. Have you gotten to the target yet? Over. Roger, we got one guy searching, two guys pulling security.
To go out, as they say, on a bang is the best way to go out. And that's exactly what happened. Ramadi had been quiet for several months prior to that because of the actions of the infantry, both Army and Marines, and us assisting every day and every night. And we were absolutely not expecting anything like this. It was much more immense than what we thought. So later, we find out that the plan was, according to our intelligence section, for the insurgents to take back Ramadi, and that had been the initial staging and supply area. And from that point, they were planning out their attack to retake Ramadi. So it was pivotal in the security of Ramadi. And I couldn't ask for a better way to end it.
I talked with Nix and Christ recently at the Missouri National Guard Flight Facility at Whiteman Air Force Base in Knob Noster. The soft-spoken and modest Christ, who joined the Guard in 2000 as a helicopter fueler, says nearly 5 years after the incident, it seems like a dream.
You know, like, man, that's crazy when you think about it. I mean, it's very surreal. It's like to know that you just went out and did that. But you know, it's part of the job. I know that sounds cliche, but I think anybody else in that situation would have done exactly the same thing. Or I'd hope to think anybody, you know, that I work with or in this attack community would absolutely do the same thing if it needed to be done.
For Nix, experience is the biggest difference between National Guard and active duty troops.
And a lot of our pilots are not only pilots for us, but they are pilots for police departments, for medevac. So they're accumulating hours every day, day and night, multiple missions in all types of weather and different situations.
For their efforts, both Nix and Christ received the Distinguished Flying Cross, which is awarded for heroic acts or extraordinary achievement while participating in an aerial flight. It's worth noting the first Distinguished Flying Cross was issued to another Missouri aviator. Missouri Guardsman Captain Charles A. Lindbergh earned the award in May of 1927 when his nonstop solo flight across the Atlantic made aeronautical history. With more than 2,500 airmen, the Missouri Air National Guard is an effective force with diverse and unique capabilities. State Command Chief Master Sergeant Laura Clark highlights a couple of the significant roles played by our units to support and protect America and Missouri.
The 131st Bomb Wing is a prime example of total force integration in the Air Force. The 131st, located at Whiteman Air Force Base, successfully transitioned from F-15 fighter jets to the B-2 bomber and shares the global strike responsibility with the active-duty 509th Bomb Wing. This classic association between the Missouri National Guard and the active-duty Air Force is a great model that brings two wings together to increase capability and reduce costs. The Missouri Guard's skilled team of professionals, in conjunction with the 509th, plans, prepares for, and conducts complex overseas missions from their base of operations in west central Missouri. The 139th Airlift Wing is located at the Rosecrans Memorial Airport in St. Joseph. The fleet of C-130 Hercules provides the Missouri Guard with heavy lift capability both at home and abroad. It's also the home of the Advanced Airlift Tactics Training Center, which has been designated the Mobility Air Force Tactics Center of Excellence. Established in 1984, its mission is to provide advanced tactical training to airlift crews to increase their warfighting effectiveness. Missouri Guardsmen train students from the Guard, Reserve, and active duty units, including Air Force Special Operations Command, the United States Marine Corps, and 15 allied nations.
Command Chief Clark, who has more than 2 decades of security forces experience, was recently named to her post. The O'Fallon resident is the first woman to hold the position as the Missouri Guard's top enlisted airman. 2011 was tragic for many Missourians. Up next, we'll show you your Missouri National Guard fully engaged in our state mission. On the home front, the Missouri National Guard rapidly responds to both natural and man-made disasters by offering immediate life and property-saving assistance. We support the efforts of state and local agencies by offering additional and unique capabilities. Missouri's geographic location leaves us susceptible to a variety of severe weather, earthquakes, and floods. This was evident in 2011 when the Missouri National Guard was mobilized by Governor Jay Nixon for 5 state emergency duties.
One, all National Guards, it's what we signed up for state and country. And 2, there's never enough hands to go around that needed help. We need help, the elderly, and I know they can't help themselves out in this weather like that. I mean, everyone needs assistance.
It's just complete devastation. We've never had water ever before like this, ever.
When we got the call a couple nights ago, we dropped whatever we were doing, we packed our bags, and we made it to the armory. So we're pretty glad to be here. I'm willing to do our part any way we can.
We actually got called up Monday. We showed up Monday morning and we went to Poplar Bluff and then back to Dexter and ended back in Cape. And yesterday we went south of East Prairie and threw some sandbags on a levee down there. And then we got called up today, come down here about 10 or 10:30 this morning.
It's nice to see the local citizens here. When the Missouri National Guard shows up, you can see them feel much calmer, knowing the situation is under control. The citizen soldiers that are here protecting this property and preparing for what could be very, very difficult situations in days and weeks to come are adding strength to local law enforcement and strength to the community.
The thing we try to keep in mind and remind our soldiers is that even though we've done this a number of times and they've been doing it for days on end, the people that are the recipients of these hours of work they're facing the most traumatic experience of their lives, and the potential of all their dreams and all their livelihood being washed away or destroyed in front of them.
Our soldiers work with remarkable enthusiasm. Very hard, long days. They did a remarkable job, and the thing that they did was they infected the local populace with that enthusiasm. Where locals were exhausted and not ready to give up, but they were really exhausted whenever they saw our soldiers step up and take on some hard tasks. I think that they joined in the fight again, and really, this is a community effort. We only facilitate good things, and by coming with that kind of spirit and enthusiasm, we really did facilitate good things, one soldier at a time to one citizen at a time.
Probably the single most scariest thing I've ever been in my life.
It looked like it had been hit with a bomb.
After the tornado hit about 6 o'clock last evening, we had our L&Os in Joplin approximately 9 o'clock, 3 hours later, and in 3 hours after that we had the 117th Search and Rescue team on its way, arriving about midnight, and worked all through the night in assisting the local authorities in searching through the rubble for individuals, and that assistance. We also added an additional 60 engineers to that team.
It's sentimental for us. It's a real big deal. I mean, you got to think, we live around here. We go to these places. We feel for the people living here.
We're here to relieve the pain when we get here, do what we can. We bring heavy equipment in. We can get to things that a lot of these other agencies can't.
Oh, 7 times now. We've fought floods in 4 years, and this is as much water as I've seen all the way back to '93. The National Guard's a community-based organization. I mean, all our soldiers come from the towns that are affected and the counties that are affected, and both Army Guard and Air Guard. So this is a hometown fight.
As you've seen, the Missouri National Guard stands ready to fight for liberty and protect the homeland. Unfortunately, at times, it comes at a great cost. The following soldiers have made the ultimate sacrifice. Their service and their sacrifice will not be forgotten.
It's grit. It's character. It's mettle. It's nobility. It's resolution, spirit, and substance. Are you up to it? It's up to you. The Air Guard.
Finally, from the bluffs overlooking the Missouri River at the Ike Skelton Training Site in Jefferson City, we bring this program to a close. Faced with external threats, the Missouri Citizen Soldiers of the mid-1700s became a necessity to their communities. Today's Missouri National Guard, soldiers and airmen, are every bit relevant, ready, and reliable. The weaponry may have changed, the world may have gotten larger, but the threats to our safety and security remain. The Missouri National Guard will continue to protect American interests overseas, provide support to civilian authorities in times of disaster and peril, and continue to provide aid and assurance to its friends and neighbors. Bottom line, it's your Missouri National Guard. Always ready, always there, adding value to America and the state of Missouri every day.